I live.
The
okay.
aristocrats, and that's Jeff. That's Jeff's joke about Randy Pitchford. Oh, hey everybody, are we live?
Yeah,
Hi, everybody. We are live on the SideQuest talking Grey's Anatomy. Patrick Dempsey McDreamy. Or Mc...
Why have we
McChicken,
become an HQ side quest, effectively?
We have. Yeah, you got me hooked back on it. I'm scratching my...
If you listen to our show, we give you at least one answer with the things we talk about for next week's quizzes. So pay attention. The code word tonight is elephant.
When you hear that word, you'll know we said it. So
let's just get this out of the way right at the top.
Elephant.
This is super important. Fucking Tom is in the theaters watching a goddamn Dragon Ball movie instead of being on the podcast.
You've got to be shitting me.
I asked if
Broly.
Yes, he is. And
is there another Dragon Ball movie?
Sam and I know this because we tried very hard to make him start a crowd spirit bomb in the theater, and he did not say whether he would or not.
Yeah, for everybody that's not a giant nerd and hasn't seen Dragon Ball, maybe even since they were in, I don't know, elementary school, Goku, who is, I believe, the main character, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong there, puts his hands above his head for, in the American version, let's say 20 episodes. And is summoning the energy for this move called the Spirit Bomb, and other characters can lend him their energy and their chi or whatever nonsense Dragon Ball Z stuff is.
Dragon Ball Chi.
Let's be accurate. All of planet Earth can lend him their energy.
So while you're in the theater watching the movie, you know how you can affect those in real time thanks to Bandersnatch. Every movie is now a choose your own adventure movie. Don't call it that or you'll get sued. But you can give Goku your energy live in the theater, and depending on how well you spirit bomb is how well the outcome of the movie is. So we told Tom that he needed to make sure that he was the one that was summoning all energy for the crowd and would then pass it to Lord Goku.
Lord and Savior Goku. In the Select Your Own Path movie. There, we're not getting sued. How you guys doing? I'm Dolly Demosky.
Hey, buddy.
That's Aaron Kelly.
I bought a pint of mint chocolate ice cream.
Nice. Mint chocolate chip or just mint chocolate? Mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate.
Mint chocolate.
Is what it says.
And Sam McDreamy Dixon.
Nope. You thought about it for too long. It doesn't work.
I'll come up with a name for you by the end of this.
Great. How about Crash Bandy Dude? Who came up with that?
Dude, your name has been that for like 2 months.
I know, I just accepted it because I have no control over anything in that group.
I honestly thought it was you that came up with it. In our Discord, your name is now Crash Bandy Dude, and I thought it was you. And then we found out the culprit. That Tom Johnson.
Which was Tom.
I didn't realize he didn't change anybody else's name. I figured like somebody else's name was changed too, but then I went through it and I was like, nope, just me.
Oh God, how's it all going down there, guys? You guys doing good? Everybody doing good? You're good. You're chowing down on some ice cream over there.
That was a really big bite.
Is it good at least?
It's pretty tasty. Hey, you guys want an update on my fucking hell mouth?
Yes, let's do it.
So my infection came back. I go to the dentist and she's like, "Well, I guess we might have pulled the wrong tooth. We'll have to pull the other tooth. That's the only one left that could be causing these infections.
You have no teeth left."
So I'm like, "All right, doc, whatever you say." So she uses 8 needles, 4 full vials of numbing agent, and she goes, "All right, how's it feel?" And I go, "It doesn't feel frozen." And she goes, "Yeah, it's because it's in the top of your mouth. It'll be fine." And she starts to pull on the tooth, and immediately it's like a lance of pain through my head. Like it's not numb at all. And I'm like, "Stop." And she's like,
"Put your hand up if it hurts."
She's like, "What?" And I'm like, it's not frozen. You're pulling a tooth. It's not frozen." She goes, "All right, I'm going to level with you." That was about a 1 out of 10 on how hard I'm going to have to pull to get this fucking thing out. So if it's not frozen, you're going to have to go in for surgery again. And I go, "All right." And she goes, "Everywhere's booked until at least April." And I said, okay. And she said, but I know a guy at a private dental clinic.
Oh my God.
I'll make you an appointment.
I know a guy.
Because this thing's coming out. And I said, all right. And then I guess she called the dude she knows who works at this private dental clinic in the same city that I went into for surgery before. I get a call the next day from this clinic saying, all right, your dentist has called us. The minimum quote is $550, and the price goes up if it's a difficult procedure, and that's not including how much the medication is going to cost. And I said, go fuck yourself. That's more than one of my entire paychecks. Cancel the appointment, and hung up on them. And so that's my life right now. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, what kind of a quote is that? $550. Oh, but the price might go up if it's difficult. Like, of course it's going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck off.
Don't you guys have free healthcare?
Dentistry lobbied like 30 years ago, and so it's not covered under socialized medicine. It works like American healthcare does, where you need insurance, or you have to pay extortionate amounts of money. So in the meantime, my dentist, who I'm not going to name because I'm not sure this part is legal,
McToothy. Mix something now.
Pre-wrote me a bunch of high-end antibiotic prescriptions that I can just cash in as needed when the infection comes back, because it will come back. Right now it's subsided because I just finished a run of antibiotics, but in about a week or 2 weeks it's going to come back, and then I'll have to do it all over again. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun, dude. Your stories of healthcare and health in general. Being a giant has its drawbacks.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse once my heart starts to explode.
When your heart starts to rip out of your body.
That's not a joke. I have to get checked yearly for a condition called Marfan syndrome.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Where basically the valves in your heart weaken, and any slight shock can just make your heart go.
We will do our best not to scare you then.
Thankfully, it's mostly physical trauma. So as long as I don't get punched in the chest, I should be good.
Oh, jeez. We're going to have to build you an Iron Man suit.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Sam, how are your medical woes going?
You know what? I mean, have I talked about when they shoved the camera down my throat for an endoscopy? Did we talk about that? God, we talk about. I feel like once a podcast we talk about somebody's medical issues.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the last 2 or 3 we've done this opening every week.
It has been. It was the team's medical update.
My teeth, your guts, and Golan's and Dally's colonoscopy.
Self-inflicted.
I'm not quite sure what your age is, Dally, but I think you're
40.
under 40. Okay,
No,
so
I
40.
am at 40, yeah. So
you're
I got
at 40. But for us being, I mean, I'm under 30. Aaron, you're under 30, or are you at 30?
I'm 30. I'll be 32 in August.
Okay.
Wow. All right. Another old dude on the site. That's
for us being this young, I feel like we have a lot of medical issues that probably shouldn't be happening.
Collectively, we're like a freaking we're an experiment. We're some type of weird thing. Sorry.
Collectively, we're not 100 yet, which is nice.
Well, where's Tom when you need him? Whose teeth shatter when you put chips in his mouth or anything like that?
He did it again, didn't he?
Yeah.
No, fuck that. Chips, I can understand. Didn't that dude break his tooth on a marshmallow?
Yes, he did. It was a marshmallow. Yeah, that as well. Marshmallow and chips.
All I know is I've been to maybe 5 PAX East, and for 4 of them, he's had teeth problems.
He's broken teeth in 4.
Yeah. One of them, I ate a chip wrong. And then the one time it was like my whole mouth hurts because they just drilled and did everything in there. They had an entire construction site out there before I got here.
It's not a PAX East unless Tom breaks his tooth.
It's tradition at this point.
Yep. Well, PAX East is going to be good because we are going to go there, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, everybody will be there.
Everybody will be there, even there. No, you're not going to be there. Damn it!
Fuck, of course not. I can't. And they're trying to charge me $550+ for a tooth, man. I can't afford a passport right now.
Dally will pay you in teeth if you.
I'll pay you in chiclets that you can shove up in there. Can you take candy corn? They kind of look like teeth, right?
Just drill them in there. Just cut open holes and shove candy corn in there.
Oh yes, for sure. I think that actually is a good idea, to be honest. We are going to talk video games. The only medical woes that I have are I've been getting some painful headaches. It's starting to subside a little bit. I went to CES last week.
How are the TVs?
You saw the future.
I saw the future. Actually, you know what? Let me close my door over here in my office because I've been screaming loudly and my daughter's staring at me and she's trying to go to bed. 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. Figure out something.
I thought we were.
Do you think Dally stood in front of the displays of televisions that rose up out of the pedestals and lifted his hands like he was doing a spirit bomb as they lifted with him?
At least one person tried to pretend to force push or pull it up or down.
Oh, absolutely. You know, there was some dude that was just like.
My question is, you know what the most baller move to reveal those would have been is if you had like the front row of people sitting on like pedestals, and then we're just like, oh yeah, and by the way, we put super thin TVs underneath these people, and
I heard you guys
like raise those people up in the air. And we're like, oh snap, oh LEDs underneath me.
So here's what I always picture would be the best thing ever. So you walk in. And there's like a super clean, super transparent like piece of plexiglass or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody's standing there and they go, behold the future, and a curtain drops and it's last year's model of television. And then nothing happens until somebody goes, that's the TV from last year. And then they fucking explode and behind them are the new TVs and there's just shrapnel everywhere.
It goes in everybody's eyes.
That's how they pitch 3D once everybody brings it back again.
The return of 3D will be, yep. So I have, so I was at the CES. My pounding headaches from not sleeping right. I got the work. I made the mistake of buying brand new shoes before I flew out there.
Oh,
brand new dress shoes from Target, which is that sentence right there. You can expect what's coming.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
After the first day of walking that show floor, so CES is giant, absolutely ginormous. I think it's like the biggest show on the planet, conference, expo type of thing.
Is the porn thing still next door to it?
It takes place the next week. It's actually going on this week. So after walking the show floor, I looked down. So my flight landed at like 1. I got to the show at like 3 by the time I got to my hotel, checked in and got ready. And by 4:30, I looked down and I had completely ripped up the back of my feet so much that blood had gone up my socks. So it was pretty badass. And it hurts like a motherfucker right now. So it's scabbing up real good. Both sides. I kept wearing it, by the way, the whole week, so that didn't help either. So I feel like I'm to the bone on my feet. Anyways, I did see some badass TVs. That LG TV, the one that rolls up. Dude, that was pretty cool. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's a TV that can it looks like a big old sound bar, and then the top slides open and the TV actually pops up out of it because it rolls down into it. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, everything. I think I'm officially sold on OLED TVs. Now it's just trying to find the
one that costs less than a tooth.
The one that costs less than yeah. This by the way, that LG roll-up TV was like $80,000. So I got a couple months to save up for that.
Black Friday.
It'll be like $11 on Black Friday. But yeah, some badass stuff. I did get a chance. This is actually good because I can dive into a little bit of what I've been playing slash news type of stuff. I headed over to the HTC Vive area. I got to try all their new gear, all that hot new VR shit. And now I can't remember the names of all their headsets. There was like 8. I remember at one point taking a photograph of like 8 different headsets. Wireless HTC, the regular Vive, the Vive Pro, the self-contained wireless Vive Pro, I think one is called the Focus, one is called the Eye, which has like eye tracking in it, one is called the Cosmos, whatever. I tried a bunch of VR stuff. I did a VR. By the way, VR is still ungodly and unwieldy to put on your face. So that's the whole thing. But I did try a VR exercise bike. So you strap your face into the VR thing. You get extremely nauseous as you're pedaling as fast as you can to keep your bike flying in the air, and you're steering to go through. It's like Diddy Kong Racing in the air, right? You remember it was at the air stages Diddy Kong Racing had.
Yeah, you had planes.
Yeah, planes. Yeah, and so it's basically Diddy Kong Racing, but somehow had like worse graphics than the N64, which made me really nauseous as we were flying through there. But I did work up a sweat, so I guess that's the point. And then I tried. Let's see here. There was like some FPS they had that used the new Vive Eye, which is really cool because the eye tracking stuff within the headset. Because it's tracking your eye, can actually sort of blur the peripheral a little bit.
It's foveated rendering.
Yes, so that it actually doesn't chew up as much hardware, or sorry, like graphic card capabilities and shit.
Yeah.
It actually is much better for like weaker computers. So
that shit is the wildest stuff, and like that's going to be the thing that really does it for VR.
Yep. Also, content will actually really do it for VR. But I didn't see anything that really stood out to me. There was one thing that was kind of cool. I think it was called Ovation. I can't remember the name of it, but it was software that it helps you like speak, get better at speaking in public. And so the scene that you're in is you're standing like in an amphitheater and you're basically reading a presentation. And it tracks how many times you say and where you're looking at in the crowd. And if you're not tracking fast enough, if you're not presenting well enough, everybody in the entire auditorium is they're scanned in 3D models of people. And so some folks will start to like lean over and start using their phone if they're not paying attention to you. Somebody else might stand up and leave. It's actually kind of interesting.
And then you look down and you're naked.
And you're in your underwear. So that's a neat idea for an app. I guess it'll help people learn to do better public speaking and not say and like all the time. Like
Do you want to hear a funny story about how I learned to deal with school?
Yeah.
So we did public speaking classes in like middle school. So that I want to say like grade 7. Middle school is grade like 6 to 9 for us. And so the teacher's like, everybody's gonna write a speech on a presentation. It needs to be about 5 minutes long, and then we're gonna go through the class, and everybody's gonna present their speech in front of the class. And I just didn't do it. I didn't want to. And then it got to me, and she was like, "All right, Aaron, it's your turn." And I was just like, "Oh, no." And she said, "You have to do it. It's the assignment." And I said, "No, I'll take the 0." And then I got kicked out of that class.
Oh, that's awesome. You're like, I'm taking a mulligan on this one.
Yeah, I was just like, I'll take the 0. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Move on.
I'll take the 0.
Wow.
Turns out they don't like that when you're just like, I'll take the 0.
I gotta learn to do that at my office. You know what, guys? I don't feel like doing any work today, so I'll take the 0.
I'm gonna take the loss for today. I'll see you guys later.
I'll be back in a week.
I'm just not feeling this one. You guys can handle it on your own.
I'm not feeling this one. Yeah, that's awesome. One thing that was an advantage of going to CES was the flights, and I had like from Detroit to, I think I flew from Detroit to Houston, then Houston to Vegas. So it was like 3 hours in between, each one. 3-hour flights and like an hour and a half layover. So I got like 8 hours of hardcore gaming in there. And the game that I played, I brought my Switch with me. I polled everyone before I left to ask them what RPG I should take with me. I figured, let me figure out which role-playing game should I do. Octopath Traveler, I think Dark Souls, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then I had like one more. And they're all like these really intense, or World Ends With You. And I said, which of these 4 role-playing games should I take with me? And I had a lot of good results. And so the one that I chose was Starlink, because it wasn't on the list. So I fell back into Starlink, and I figured, you know what? I don't know if I necessarily feel like a super long game right now. I want to just kind of check boxes off my my gaming backlog, and so I'm back on that Starlink, and that's why I think I got into but I got into a good little Twitter thread about the best Star Fox games and how Star Fox is really just like NASCAR. You're on a track and you're going around in circles and you can't get off that track. But Starlink is like the best Star Fox game that's come along in a while. like. So I've been playing Starlink, and it's the now that I've got like maybe 15 hours into it, it is happily a solid 7.5, like 7.25, like a 7.2, which is maybe the best kind of game possible. It's game of the year worthy. It could have gone on my list. It's like Red Faction Guerrilla, which was actually not a great game, a solid 7.2, 7.5, but because of like a whole bunch of repetition of shit to do in that game, it's just nice to kind of zone out and not really care about mission, the end goal of solving the game tape and just doing stupid little missions here and there. So
yeah, you can accidentally complete the story in that game and not even realize you did it.
Yeah. Did you do that?
Yeah, because that absolutely happened to me, because I was like, oh, this quest will just lead then to like something else on a different planet, and then all of a sudden it's like, congrats, you've defeated like such and such like legion, but like the area is not safe. And I was like,
yeah, the area
I still have
safe.
like 80. It's like it says I have 20% of this game complete. What do you mean I like defeated the legion? Like what? Yeah, it's a fun. Yeah, it's definitely like a great turn off your mind and just kind of like grind things out.
It's very grindy. Yeah,
if you're looking for check marks to complete, it's definitely that game.
I did realize I got to pick up a freaking. I got to get a couple more of the boosters or weapons or whatever, because I don't have
all of
enough. Them. I don't have all of them. Like it's like amiibo. No, I need like. You need a couple different types of weapons to unlock some of the stuff in the game, just like they did with like Skylanders and things like that. So
yeah, I think technically you can get everything without it, but like there's some stuff with specifically, I think it's anti-grav or whatever, the dark matter,
the dark matter
power, and the light ones. Like those are like weird if you don't have that stuff. That you kind of have to do like roundabout ways to beat enemies or stuff without it. So it's like kind of completionist stuff, I guess, if you're looking at it that way.
Yeah, pay more to unlock is basically what it is.
And it's all been on sale physically. Digitally, I don't know so much about it, but like physically,
those pieces are like, I bought this here. I bought this ship right here because it looks kind of badass. So I grabbed this thing. I think normally it was like $29.99 or something, and it's the Pulse ship, and I like how it's just this really cool ship design. I think it was on sale at Best Buy for $7.99. It was like well after Black Friday.
Yeah, so they're just going to start selling those as like toys and not even as actual like toys for the game, I think. Target actually has a weird like cardboard mega ship. Like there's there's like one of the Equinox or something like that. Whatever the big ship is in the game. Yeah, you can buy at Target like a cardboard, basically Labo kit to put together like that model. But they keep selling those for cheap too. But
that doesn't do anything in the game, does it?
No, I don't think so. It might come with like a pilot or something that has like a Target exclusive variant or some nonsense. You can also buy everything digitally. So if you don't want all the physical toys, you can go and buy a pack that's like the same price as the game and buy everything digitally. So then you have it.
Now, the only issue I'm running across is when you're on you're playing in a giant galaxy, right? And you can land on planets. It's actually got this cool mechanic of how you zoom between, zoom around in space with hyperspace, and how when you kind of enter a planet, its atmosphere. It's kind of a cool little sequence. But is there a way to like quickly get between planets? I think I saw one time with like the Y button came up and it said something like quick.
There might be like jumping to places you've been. I'm not exactly sure on that, but I think you have to travel through space, because then there's the little like pirate outcrops or whatever you have to fight.
Space is freaking huge, and sometimes it'll task you from flying from one end of the galaxy to the other, which is not fun. What's
like
funny a solid 15 minutes of just flight.
That game sets itself up to be like a space like adventure shooter thing. But what that is basically a tank third-person action game, because you're on the ground for most of the actual like combat, and you can fight in the air, but it's almost to your detriment sometimes in combat situations. And arguably the like space pirate fights in like the outer realms of all the planets like suck in comparison to the rest of the game. Just because that mechanic of flying the ship around does not feel good. So those fights in like 3D space just end up not being as good as the fights on the planet.
Yeah, you'll end up facing one direction, and it says, "Oh, the thing's right behind you," and you rotate around, and it's not behind you. It's actually kind of above and in the background, and you have to fly. It's
Yeah, so it's funny. Everybody keeps saying it's Star Fox and Star Fox, but at least Star Fox like feels good to be in space.
True.
And the actual like space battles feel good when you have them. Now they're very far and few between, even more the more recent series of the Star Fox stuff. But basically, all that stuff is like what the Landmaster tank mission should have been in some of the modern Star Fox games. Is that tank stuff has never felt good in like the GameCube. And the Wii U Star Fox games, where that stuff feels great in Starlink, but it's just a shame that like they gave you the R-Wing and like it's a weird like R-Wing, like a flat version of an R-Wing when you're fighting like on the planets. Like I almost wish it just converted itself to the Landmaster, because that's what that game feels like. It's a really good like third-person tank game as opposed to a space shooter. But
yeah. But it's it's the closest we've had to like a real Star Fox game in a while. I know that Star Fox Zero wasn't
good.
Wasn't good. I have it, but I haven't started it yet. And I think that's one of the last couple Wii U games that I've got to go through. Yeah, I'm staring at like my pile of Wii U games that I have to complete, and it's I'm never gonna get the Xenoblade Chronicles X. I've given up on that, but it's basically the Star Fox duo, which is Zero and Guard, and nicely both those games can be completed in like an afternoon. And then Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which come on, put that on the Switch, because that'll sell great on. It didn't sell at all on the Wii U. I think it sold like 6 copies total, but that would be great on the Switch, especially for
I don't think everybody that owns a Wii U bought it.
Yes, essentially.
Yeah, I don't want to jump to the news a while, but Atlas may be releasing. Well, they just got Persona Q2 rated in Australia, and they haven't made an announcement about that coming west yet. But I would assume that that's coming. I'm hoping that in our first Nintendo Direct, we'll be getting some Persona news, or at least some Atlas news and related to the Switch, since
there was still that Shin Megami Tensei game supposed to be coming, right?
Yep. I mean, Joker is coming to Smash. Yeah. The rumors have been that it seems that with what has not leaked, but what has been data mined from Smash, that all of the characters seem to be tying into sort of announcements for Nintendo-based products and games to be coming towards Nintendo. So potentially that means that an Atlas-produced or a Persona-based project should be coming. And Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I was trying to come up with what it was called in America. Tokyo Mirage Sessions being a Fire Emblem game, it wasn't a Persona game, but it's basically Persona Light with Fire Emblem. So potentially, I hope that if we see that game come over, maybe we'll see it with some Persona characters or some other like alterations to it, to sort of bring Joker and sort of explain maybe that whole Shin Megami Tensei Persona universe more to Nintendo players.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I look at that list and I see Nintendo Land up there. I'm like, they really should put a new Nintendo Land out, or re-release that one, because actually that wasn't a bad game. It was actually kind of fun. No,
I think this year is going to be the year of cleaning up ports for Wii U titles that people want.
I think okay, well maybe, yeah. I could see them putting out Mirage Sessions. I could see them throwing down Super Mario 3D World at the end of this year.
Yeah, if there's not going to be anything Mario or even Zelda related this year on the Switch, I think that 3D World is your safe bet for like a basically same release as Super Mario Deluxe. I'm trying to think what was that last year. Toad's Treasure Tracker, I guess.
Maybe it was. Yeah, Treasure Tracker was last year. Yeah. So yeah, there we go. That's what I've been playing. Literally, that's all I've been playing. I've also been. Well, I take it back. I lied. I lied again. What a dirty liar I am. I've also been playing Konami's Pixel Puzzle game, which is I love Picross. I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but I've been playing that nonstop, and it's great because it's you don't need a wireless connection to play. Just a bunch of Picross puzzles, and they're great, and they're simple, but it's a fun little time waster, whatever. Sam, have you been playing anything besides the health game?
Yeah, a little bit. thankfully, and thank you to Xbox for giving us Celeste for Xbox Live Gold.
Yeah.
I've been playing Celeste. Man, wish I would have played that game before we did Game of the Year stuff. It happens.
Good. It's good.
It happens every year, man. Celeste is so good. Again, as per usual, I always mention that I talk about movement in games and how it's really important to me. And Celeste is the definition of a movement game and how it's important to both gameplay and stuff like that. And man, it's so good. That game has so many little like physics tricks and stuff like that that are in games like 3D Mario's and all types of great platformers that you only really figure out once the game is willing to reveal it to you, but you've been able to do it the whole time. I think with something like that, like knowing that you should be able to do it and thinking you can make it happen and like willing yourself to basically trick the game into teaching you something is so good. And Celeste does that perfectly. Everybody's talked to death about the like Pico thing, where the smaller version of the game is in the game, basically the test version or the original design version of the game. And those B-side challenges are incredible if you want to break controllers and also test any patience you have with life itself. But it's so good, man. I think everybody should play it. And if you have Xbox Live, like just download it.
It was on the Switch earlier this year, like back in January. And it was, I think it may have been the first Switch game that I reviewed this year or last year. God, it was so good back then. But I think it almost came out too early for me because it got overshadowed by everything else later on in the year. But man, it was that is an experience from just the puzzle. Puzzle platforming is fantastic in that game. Absolutely fantastic. The mechanic is great. The collect, like, was it is it strawberries you're collecting? I can't quite remember.
Yeah, the tooltip is something like, the strawberries mean absolutely nothing. It's just for bragging rights amongst your friends. And you read that and you're like, well, okay, that was a personal challenge directly to me to make sure I get all of these strawberries.
Yep. Good.
Yeah, it's great. And of course the story is great about anxiety and trying to live up to what others expect of you. I'm only maybe 4 missions in, maybe 3. And like, as you said, like on the Switch, it would be the perfect game to just take with you and have to even just try a couple lives in a room that you've been struggling on. I've been looking, and I think Limited Run is making those like physical versions. Like I'm maybe halfway through the game, and I want to have like every collector's version of this game to make sure that I can play it forever. So it's great. Go play it.
It's great. It's totally great. Totally worth it. I didn't get like the emotional side of things. I just played it as just a fantastic platforming experience. But I know there were some folks that really the game's actually dealing with stuff, but it's only as apparent as you want it to be. So cool. Anything else, or that's it?
I was trying to think. I think that's about it. Been real busy recently. Again, I feel like I come on here and I'm always real busy. Oh, that's a lie. I have been playing one every single time. I have been playing One More Thing. So I've been.
You're the Steve Jobs of, and one more thing.
Yes, and it's the iPad. No, but I'm going back to. I'm going back to the GameCube here. I started playing Chibi Robo again.
The original.
Yeah, I got into. We actually got into this discussion a little bit ago in the SideQuesting chat of what were games that if you told somebody to go play, what's the best way to go play them?
Yes.
Like, and that there are just some games that are like locked specifically to the system because emulation doesn't have them correctly. Remasters never happened. Tied up in legal rights, it's just never going to happen. And Chibi Robo is a game that we are now to the point where there are so many games that have Chibi Robo as a character in them that are nothing like what Chibi Robo started out to be, that I don't know if even Nintendo really knows what that character is and what that game is at this point.
I've played 2 Chibi Robo games, the 3DS game and the DS game, and neither of them are like that original.
No, neither of them are the GameCube, and I don't even know if it's the original, but I'm specifically talking about the GameCube game.
Yeah, I think it is original.
I think there might be a subtitle, but I've always just known it as Chibi Robo. But that game essentially is like an open world, third person, I guess, action game, if you want to call it that. But it's about you're a helper for a family essentially, and this family's going through different problems, like the kids, I think, being bullied in school, or I'm not far enough in the game again to remember what's going on with the daughter. She might just be having a problem with her parents because her parents are like having relationship problems, and very clearly like the dad like is kind of like screwing things up and like wasting all their money, and the mom is like tired of it at this point. And it's just about like going through the house and learning like, you know, basically the family's history and what has happened in that space. And it's a little like Gone Home, but instead of just reading things, you're sort of interacting and trying to like help mend the woes of the family. But it's basically an open world game where you're the size of an action figure and you're playing in basically the house and the living space of this family. And there's so much in that game that I feel like even something like Breath of the Wild has learned from, that we've kind of just ignored in open world games. And this sort of limitation to how far you can explore and pushing yourself as a character, or like pushing yourself as a person to go experiment and learn about an area. And will you make it back? Will it be worth it? Did you waste your time and stuff like that? It's like really something that I feel like we need to start like exploring in open world games, because there is so much to do in these games, and there's so much filler nonsense and stuff like that, where, you know, this was an open world game on GameCube where they had to be like restricted to the open world that they had to be a certain space and had to be perfectly crafted to make every single corner feel like something you'd want to explore and make it worth that trip. Because if it wasn't, like, you've wasted your time or you've not been able to achieve something that day. And I don't know, I feel like we're due for a Chibi Robo game, or a game like that from Nintendo that's like both largely experimental and also like very niche at the same time. Because I feel like that must have been a very hard sell. I was just a kid that would play anything that had Nintendo written on the side of the box when I was younger. So I just probably picked it up and just fell in love with it. But like, how do you convince somebody that, hey, let's play this game that's definitely cool and is like a unique world to explore, but it's about finding a toothbrush and sweeping up the mud tracks that the dog brought in for happiness points? like how do you explain that to somebody?
So what's interesting about Chibi Robo is that there have been 5 Chibi Robo games, but only the first one is this open world gem that everybody loves. That was Chibi Robo. And then in the DS received Chibi Robo Park Patrol, which was not great. It was just sort of this park building game. And that was a Walmart exclusive, I think, too.
Nice.
Yeah, and then there was actually a sequel to that game called Chibi Robo like Happy Park Patrol or something. And then so also on the DS. Then the original Chibi Robo was re-released for the Wii as a one of those new play control games.
Really?
That for a few, only in Japan, so not in the States. And then you had, all right, this is where things get even weirder. They released that Chibi Robo Photo Finder thing, that like app thing for the 3DS, and then Chibi Robo Ziplash, which was just a platformer where you you know, flick shit around. And then you had Chibi Robo in Smash Brothers.
Well, as an assist trophy, right?
He's playable, isn't he? Oh, no, you're right. He is an assist trophy. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at my Chibi Robo amiibo right now. Aaron, how many Chibi Robo games do you own?
I have the whole catalog. I am, as the kids say, a Chibi Robo stan.
Chibi Robo stan.
Oh, man.
You've never played Chibi Robo, have you?
Nope. Don't even know what it is. Never heard of it.
I will 100% admit, without any sort of shame, that I bought that 3DS Chibi Robo game just so I could have the amiibo too.
Same here. And then when that price dropped on that game to like $11 with the amiibo in there, how pissed are you?
Not at all, because it was one of those things where I bought it. I was gonna play the game anyway, like eventually. So like I didn't mind, and I beat it. That's more than I could say for some 3DS games I bought. And like that amiibo has a nice prominent location on top of my computer at all times. So, I mean, I bought it knowing that Nintendo would never give me the Chibi Robo game I ever wanted to But I will say with 100% certainty that if you have at least a mildly decent computer, go ahead and play Chibi Robot on the Dolphin emulator. It runs better than it does on GameCube. Your load times will be better. Yeah, you can make it look better, or you can make it look just as crappy as it did on the N64, or on the N64 on the GameCube. Yeah, the only thing that kind of sucks is like cutscenes. The audio doesn't run great, but that's because the game didn't run at a solid frame rate during cutscenes, so it doesn't emulate that smoothly. But yeah, feel free to go ahead and do that if you own the game, or you can get a copy of it and don't have a GameCube, or don't want to, or can't hook a GameCube up to an HD television. I had that issue last night trying to hook a Wii up to
good luck.
An HD television that didn't have component or RCA jacks in the back at all. God. And I was like, that's a very 2019 problem to have.
Yeah, we have a weird splitter where we have a DVD, like a VCR DVD player, and that exits in. I'm looking at it right now. It outputs an HDMI, but you input with AV because it's meant to be able to plug like a camera in there, just some recordings too. So I basically spent $300 on a converter. But yeah, okay, Chibi Robo, good game. I really wish it would. That would be a great game to pop into, like the Nintendo Online thing for Switch.
If there's ever a GameCube like classic, or they end up porting like chunks of GameCube games to the Switch, if Chibi Robo's not on there, I'll be highly disappointed.
I'd much rather have a GameCube classic than an N64 classic, to be honest.
I still think that they just need to release, like at this point, a Nintendo classic.
Just with a bunch of different Nintendo games on there?
Yeah. And allow
the best Nintendo games on there.
Allow people to hook up like any, USB. You have GameCube controllers with hubs, so allow them to hook that up. Allow them to hook the classic controllers up through the like Wii jack or whatever it's called on the back, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it could be the way to do it.
That's I tell you what you need to do. Just take the Wii, the original design of the Wii with the GameCube ports on the top, take out the disk drive, and fill all that space for where the disk drive was with the stuff that makes the classic games work, and sell me that as the Nintendo Classic, and allow me to play games up to the Wii on it. And call it a day.
Yeah, I like that. Good call. What have you been playing, Aaron?
I've been playing more Slay the Spire.
Okay.
It was a little while ago now, but they added like this weird like end game mode type thing. So it's like it used to just be 3 floors, and then they added keys to each floor. Like you kill a boss and you get it from a treasure chest and something else. And that would let you fight a 4th floor boss. And then if you manage to beat that boss, or I think even maybe get to that boss, on each of the characters, it unlocked what they called Ascension Mode. And Ascension Mode is a set of 20 levels of difficulty that you have to beat the previous one, or something like, you have to beat the boss of the 3rd floor, so the original final boss, on that difficulty level to unlock the next floor. And there's 3 characters, so it's sort of like 60 new challenges, and each level adds a new layer of difficulty, and also I think incorporates all the previous levels of difficulty. So
this is on Steam, right? It's still technically early access, right? Or has it been gone through its official release?
No, I think it's still early access.
It's supposed to be I think released this month.
I think so. But I've just been playing that. That game's been solid. It's like since since forever. And then I also started playing Subnautica on the Epic Store.
They the Slay the Spire is coming out for Switch sometime this year, which I think could be another good platform for it, actually.
Yeah, that would do really well on Switch. And it's nice because it's just like a card game. So it's if you got to stop because your bus got to your stop and you have to go to work and live that life, you can just put the thing in standby mode and not really have to worry about it. But yeah. So I was playing that, and I've been playing Subnautica. And the reason I never played Subnautica before, or I should say the reason I never bought Subnautica, is because I'm terrified of the deep water.
You mentioned that, I think.
really?
Yeah.
I have. I don't know if you can call it a phobia because I think it's totally deserved given that I drowned. So I don't like the water, and so I started playing Subnautica because it was free, and I haven't gotten anywhere. I just swim around up top and like gather resources. I'm trying to build a base, but you can only do so much because all the stuff you need for like the higher end stuff is way down below, and I don't want to go down there.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing that. But I mean that game's nice. That game is
nice.
That game is nice enough, like graphically, that I had to turn it down because my computer is too old to run it without it hitching.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You had to scale it back then. Okay.
Yeah, I had to flip it down to medium just because it's that like graphically intensive. It has to be the water because the water's beautiful in that game. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I don't think I've played anything else. Yeah. Let's say that's it. Let's say that was it. Let's say that's everything.
Okay. What's interesting is we're right on the precipice of a bunch of games hitting us, right? So we're all kind of getting ready for, I think Kingdom Hearts is in a couple weeks here. None of us are playing New Super Mario Brothers U, although I heard that's actually sucking a few folks in right now. But yeah, you got Kingdom Hearts. I think you got that No More Heroes game tomorrow. Kingdom Hearts 3, and you have like February and March are going to be bonkers for game releases. So this is a nice little calm before things get hot and heavy, but I do like going to some of these smaller or older games and finishing stuff up from last year around this time. I think it was last year we actually had quite a few releases in January. So it's refreshing to have just a little bit of a break before shit gets kind of heavy. So enjoy it because next week with Kingdom Hearts, everything goes bonkers. News. Should we get into some news? Has there been anything happening in the world of video games?
Yeah, so you know what? Fuck it. Let's start off with the showstopper. Let's get this one right out of the way as soon as I pull up my notepad here. Yeah, so Power Rangers Battle for the Grid trailer was leaked.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Power Rangers fighting game. I mean, that's it. That's the news. That's the news of the week. Yeah. Trailer leaked. It's got Power Rangers from it seems to be a bunch of different shows, and at the end is Jason David Frank, the guy that played Green Ranger, Tommy Oliver, playing the game and kicking the shit out of somebody over the internet. So it's an online fighting game.
I haven't seen the video. What do the visuals look like?
It looks okay. A lot of people are saying that it looks basically like a port from a mobile game called Power Rangers Legacy Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't care. It's a Power Rangers fighting game. Looks good. I like Power Rangers. So
what's interesting is it launches like within a week of the Mortal Kombat, which also launches in April, which is going to obliterate fighting. It'll be tough to get a fighting game in.
The reaction to that Mortal Kombat stuff is pretty wild, huh?
People, I haven't checked that actually. So I'm
pretty negative, right?
Yeah, people are not digging it.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's just
like Ronda Rousey as Sonya Blade.
Yeah, so they got number one, they got Rousey, and people aren't having that because she sucks as a human. I guess she's an okay wrestler. But on top of that, they've shown off like some of the fatalities and combat arts and stuff like that. And it's Mortal Kombat, so it's very bloody and like very gory. But it seems like way over the top. Like it seems like even just the normal moves look like. Remember how ridiculous brutalities were?
Yeah.
It's like that, but they're just like normal X-ray moves or whatever and shit like that. And people are just like, this is stupid.
It's funny that like that much gore is getting people like upset today, but like this week earlier was when that Resident Evil demo hit, and everybody was like, "Oh, the gore is so cool in that."
But yeah,
the 30-minute demo. Yeah, I'm really interested. That's. I guess it'll be. I
mean, I like Mortal Kombat, so I'm sure. Like if it comes this way, I play it. If it goes on sale, I'm sure I'll play it.
I want them to do something different with Mortal Kombat because the last, I'm plowing through Injustice 2 as well. I've played the single player camping. I actually kind of like that better than any other game in the Mortal Kombat Injustice DC series because the plot's actually kind of interesting compared to the other games. It's somewhat coherent, but I'm getting a little bit worn out, I guess, in a weird way. Like the cool thing with was it Mortal Kombat 9? It's just called Mortal Kombat a few years back. The Xbox 360 one where you can like spectate people fighting.
That was 10, I think.
Was it 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the first of the new ones, right? The first of the reboots. So
yes.
was that 9 or 10?
This is 11, so that was 9.
So it would have been 9, and it was just called Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it was just called Mortal Kombat. Yeah, but I like that one because you had that kind of cool spectating mode, and I think they either changed it or took it out for 10. And then you had Injustice come in between those years, and I think they actually had DC versus Mortal Kombat the year before, or a couple years before Mortal Kombat 9. And I'm getting a little bit worn out. It's like, okay, so we know in like 2 years there'll be another Injustice game. And then in 2 years after that, it'll be another Mortal Kombat game. And so I think they need to switch it up. I need to do something really different with Mortal Kombat.
So here's the problem. Here's the problem with me with that loop. That loop still gets me because I'm a giant comic book nerd.
Oh yeah.
Every time they make an Injustice game, like that's comics that they haven't done. You know what I mean? Basically. So I'm way into it. I'm like,
oh no, I like the Injustice stuff. I'm thinking just for the Mortal Kombat stuff because it feels like the same game over and over again with Mortal Kombat. Because it's like none of the characters are appealing in Mortal Kombat, right?
I mean, they fucked up when they introduced the Combat Kids, right?
Yeah.
What you don't like Sub-Zero and the other colored Sub-Zeros?
All 8 versions of Sub-Zero that are canon within the game.
You don't like Gray Sub-Zero?
Yeah, Gray Sub-Zero.
Y'all don't like Yellow Sub-Zero? He's the one that throws the hook, right?
He's yellow Sub-Zero and Smash. Put Yellow Sub-Zero and Smash. PYS.
You don't like Sub-Zero brother Sub-Zero?
Put Yellow Sub-Zero.
It's an ethereal Sub-Zero, just Noob Saibot or whatever.
Yeah.
Which already Noob Saibot is like 2 people that are somehow blended into one person. Answer me that, Netherrealms.
Yeah, fix it. Fix that reality. But they need to switch it up. Like they need to get away from like all these characters. Just get rid of them or try something completely different character-wise. Gameplay-wise, I can handle it, but get something new character-wise and new.
Give me that side-scrolling Raiden game again.
Yeah, the Raiden. What was the I almost said Luke Cage and Johnny Cage. Who is the guy with the big cybernetic arm?
Oh, that's what, Jax?
Jax. Did they have like a Jax standalone game or something like that? Or
well, they had a Sub-Zero one.
Okay, Sub-Zero. That's what it was. Okay. I thought they had planned a Jax one, or maybe he was in that game.
Apologies, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there was another one too, but I don't remember.
What they need to do is they made a very hard left at some point in that series where they started to take themselves serious, I think, and that was a mistake. And they should have taken a hard right and just invested into like Mortal Kombat Kart, like Mortal Kart or something like that, or just made these dumb spin-off games for Mortal Kombat and just completely dug into the fact that they're just goofy, overly violent games that are just there for that goof factor at this point.
Oh, so here were the games: Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. So that was a Sub-Zero game that was on N64 and PlayStation. And then you had Mortal Kombat Special Forces, which was that was right. That was 2000.
Yeah, you were right.
And then you had Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, which was in 2005 for PS2 and Xbox. And that was Liu Kang and Kung Lao.
There was a Wii title, right? I specifically remember being some dumb promotional video where somebody's like, "Oh, you input the fatalities using the Wiimote nunchuck." Here's one: Mortal Kombat Killer Instinct crossover. Ed Boon said that he'd love to do that one day. I think that would be a good one. I'd actually rather see that than Mortal Kombat in Marvel. But yeah, I'm not. I don't know. They need to do something. They need to do something kind of different.
Yeah, well,
really kind of.
What if they made a skateboarding game? That'd be
cool. Dude, that'd be great.
Yeah. So here's 2 stories in one for you. Players of Fallout 76 discovered the dev room in Fallout 76 that wasn't removed. It was just it was in the live product. So they were able to get some as of yet to be released items out of that. And then yesterday or today, Bethesda started banning players who found the dev room in Fallout 76. So
that's like having a sign out that says free pizza, and then when you eat a slice, they chop your hand off.
Yeah. Oh God, you can't. It's in the game. You're banning people for finding stuff. They're not breaking the game.
Yeah,
so, it's literally in the game.
This was reported on by a bunch of people, and the article I was looking at was by Emma Kent, a reporter at Eurogamer.
Mm.
And one of the top comment on that says, "We at Bethesda have received reports that some players may actually be finding some small measure of enjoyment in Fallout 76. Obviously, this is an error and not an intended consequence of Fallout 76 gameplay." But yeah, so that's the whole thing.
I like that game is server based, right? So they couldn't just like take all the items from those players and like be like, "Don't do it again."
I don't think that game is server based, is it? Didn't people figure out that it was like some sort of client based and you could just edit some shit?
I'm sure, because it's. I mean, it's one of those that I feel like somewhere says it always has to be connected online, but you don't technically have to always be connected online or some nonsense.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. People aren't happy, and why would you be playing that game?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's a good news one. Jump Force. That upcoming Shonen Jump fighter game, they just announced that they're adding a bunch of new Naruto characters. In case you weren't sure you were going to get all the Naruto, now you're going to get 4 more characters.
Aaron, I'm sure you have the list of what those characters are in front of you. Dally, can you name a single Naruto character that isn't Naruto?
Actually, you know what? In fact, if you know his last name, you can name Naruto.
Naruto. I don't know. That's the only one I know.
I don't even know if I know his last name.
I know.
Doing the spiky hair. Is it Dragon Ball? It's Dragon Ball as a Naruto character.
You just described every anime character ever.
I want you, Dally. I want you to say an anime character's name, and then I want you to try to say the anime it's from.
All right.
And Akira is not the answer to any of this.
I was gonna say Akira. Akira is the answer to Akira, right? Then you have Evangelion, which is from Neon Genesis Evangelion. You have
no, that's true.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of other ones. You have the Full Metal Alchemist, which is from Full Metal Alchemist.
That's good too.
You also have the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, which is from the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
3 for 3.
That's all I got.
The show wasn't a character in the show. I don't think that's how that works. Also, Full Metal Alchemist, the character's name is not Full Metal Alchemist.
Technically, it is his title.
That's his title, yeah, but like that's like going like what's his character's name? Doctor.
It is his title, and people do call him that when he fights them.
I guess.
It's the Full Metal Alchemist.
Spike or Scar or whatever that fucking dude's name was in that joke definitely calls him Full Metal Alchemist.
That show is a running joke between me and my partner. Like whenever you have to get up to go to the bathroom or something, you just say Full Metal Alchemist, and then you go to the bathroom and you sit back down and you go Full Metal Alchemist.
Because of the bumper interstitials?
Yeah, I don't know why that became such a good joke between the two of us, but we've been doing it for years.
Yeah, you guys don't give a shit about these characters.
No.
Anyway, there's some for everyone.
Are they Dragon Ball? Is Dragon Ball one of the characters? Is Dragon Ball a character?
Dragon Ball is a character in that game.
There actually is. Is there a character named Dragon Ball?
No.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Then what the hell is a Dragon Ball?
They're 7 balls that summon a giant fucking dragon named Shenron.
Have they found the dragon's balls yet?
My friend, there are 7 of those balls on every single planet in the known existence of the Dragon Ball universe.
And also, if you go to see the movie that Tom is seeing right now, it exists in a universe where there are 7 planet-sized Dragon Balls that exist out in space. And if you somehow pull them all together, these fucking planet-sized things, you can summon Super Shenron, I think, and get a wish.
You get a super special wish.
You get a super special wish. If you rub the dragon's balls, you get a special wish.
Which is somehow like bigger than the other wish that you could have wished before. Yep. Not that it matters because everybody always uses their wish on bringing someone or something back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's ever like, I want to be rich, and it's like, well, you already have superpowers, can fly around fucking everywhere. So what does it matter?
Literally, the only person who wanted to do something else was Vegeta, who wanted to be immortal so that he couldn't die, and then he didn't get to because they used his Dragon Ball wish to wish everybody back to life.
And then he ends up getting married, which is his own version of death. So what are you gonna do?
And as a kid that he hates.
Yeah, there's a whole subplot about how Vegeta goes mad because he tries to become a human and it doesn't go right.
Doesn't he wear a shirt saying "bad man" on it?
It's Dragon Ball gets into some real shit for absolutely no reason other than it's just Dragon Ball.
Also, speaking of people getting into some shit, hey, you like that segue?
I like it. Yeah, that's good.
So this is another there's another two stories kind of wrapped into one. A report came out from The Independent about criminals who were stealing credit cards to buy V-Bucks in Fortnite, which they then turn around and launder on the dark web to get themselves money.
They floss them clean and then sell them to people.
Yep, they floss them clean, get all that dancing, use it to clean it. And then the second is a report from the Hollywood Reporter. It was written by Patrick Shanley at the Hollywood Reporter, who reached out to Epic for comment. And it's just basically it's just an update to the story. But Epic's comment is the most boilerplate, like bog standard PR non-answer I've ever seen. So this report came out about money laundering, and Epic Games says Epic Games takes these issues seriously as chargeback and fraud put our players and our business at risk. As always, we encourage players to protect their accounts by turning on two-factor authentication, not reusing passwords and using strong passwords, and not sharing account information with others. That's what Epic has to say about money laundering on the dark web. Also, they're getting sued again, this time by the mother of the kid.
Usually, yeah.
That was the other thing.
The orange jumpsuit kid.
Yeah, the orange shirt kid, and this one I felt was worthy of talking about because I don't really give a shit about most of the other ones, but this kid, the court filing from his mother claims copyright infringement, misappropriation of the dance move, and unfairly profiting from Orange Shirt Kid's creative expression and likeness without consent. And the reason I think that's interesting is because his dance is in the game because he recorded it and submitted it to a contest to get his dance in the game.
Yeah,
if that's not consent, I don't know what that is, right?
He lost that contest, though, so it's arguable that do they have the right to it if he didn't win? Because then did they compensate him enough? Like if his dance, I guess, has made them more profit than what the actual winner's dance has made, does that like bring into question like does he deserve more compensation, or did he receive any compensation? Like was there a prize for third place?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there might be some kind of argument in that direction, but specifically the consent part of it, like losing that contest doesn't revoke consent. You submit something to a company and you basically waive your rights to it, don't you? Like, is that how it all works forever?
I would assume it's the acknowledgement that putting that in, well, I don't know, unless it said in it specifically that they required the rights if you were to win or if you were to receive like a position or something like that, because then you could argue that like you could submit anything and then deny the right for them to have it. I don't know. It would have to been in the fine print that you were giving away your right to it, I guess.
Yeah.
This dance stuff has got some big like legal ramifications for a lot of things, I think. Not even just for games and emotes and stuff like that, just for media in general. Like at what point does referencing something account for being a representation of that thing or being a performance of that thing? Because a lot of these lawsuits have to do with not only like the rights to the dance, but then like the performance of it. So something like who's not Soldier Boy? Who was the one that sued first?
2 Milli.
2 Milli. So that is a dance that he created, and he performed. So if you're going to recreate that dance, you want the source of that dance. So it's him. So you're recreating his performance of the dance in the game. So you're basically missing out on, you're getting 2 copyright strikes against you for both the performance and copying the performance, and then the use of the actual copyrighted material.
So I guess my question is like what is the statute of limitations on that? Because like there are games that have used stuff like the electric slide, for example, as an emote.
Or like the Thriller dance for years,
sure,
and stuff
and
like that.
Like those are dances that have very obvious like origin points, but you never hear about anybody like raising a stink out of those getting used, right? Like, so is there a point? Like, is this shit just too new? Like 2 Milli, that was a recent dance, right? Like that was a video he did last year.
Yeah, well, since like the 2000s.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure on the year. I think it actually might have been like 2009. I could be wrong on that. Is when he created it. I could be very wrong. I read like one article on the actual dance, but I mean, I am a communications major, so I do know some of the like copyright law stuff.
Sure. And so Alfonso Ribeiro, the guy who played Carlton on Fresh Prince, he's another one of the people suing, and he's stated in interviews that his dance he just ripped off from 2 other music videos, right?
Right, yeah.
So like so what does that mean? Like, is that even ripping him off then? If his dance was just ripped off from somewhere else?
So I think the bigger thing with Fortnite is not so much that those dances are in there, and it's more about how they're in there. What I think about is like, a slash dance in something like League of Legends, right? So every character has a dance in League of Legends, and they're all unique, and some of them are based off like K-pop groups or boy bands or, YouTube videos, Vines, stuff like that. But in League of Legends, those dances are specifically attached to those characters. You're not paying for those dances, where in something like Fortnite, you're not paying to play the game. The only thing you're paying for is for those unique dances. So the only thing that's technically turning Epic a profit in that is those experiences. So the question comes down to, it's not the problem is this case is probably going to be settled out of court.
Which means like if they settle all of this out of court, then there's no legal precedent set, right?
Well, so that's the thing. Is the problem with this is if this goes to court, no matter the outcome, this is going to set a legal precedent that affects a lot of things and not just games. If this doesn't go to court, we're going to have this sort of dangling thing for a while. And I think any move that Epic makes after that immediately either calls them into question of, yeah, we know we were legally questionable before, and now we're going to take these steps to correct it, or we're just going to ignore and avoid until this happens again. The other thing that could happen is the FCC or the Supreme Court or somebody could decide that because this is such a sort of landmark new media case that they could choose to see it, even if somebody tries to settle it on a course, like they can force that court case to happen. So you might see this be fought legally where both parties kind of don't even want it to be as like public and as like a factor as it's going to be. But this could really affect a lot of things, because where do lines get drawn? At what point is something like an allusion to or a nod to something? Or where is it cross the line of, okay, well, this performance is causing you to gain fans or make money or do something. I need to slice that pie. There needs to be some compensation and stuff like that. And I sit on the side of where it's something like Fortnite, where they are turning a profit on these experiences. Like, there are people that maybe don't play the game or never spent any money, but then their favorite dance or something shows up. Or, like it's the Halloween and the Thriller dance shows up. And you're like, oh, I love the Thriller dance. I'm going to spend $5. Like, obviously, Michael Jackson's estate should get some turn of profit for that, because that Halloween event's draw is the specific emotes or specific things that come out during that event that you can only procure during that time. So that is arguably something that makes you want to play that game. So it's something that person should be compensated for. And we're going to see a lot of people bring that stuff into question. Even somebody like Microsoft with Forza, they removed the Carlton and one other dance from Forza Horizon 4 this week because they probably don't even want to muck about in that. Because, again, if that court case gets seen and there's a precedent set, like, they're immediately on the chopping block, and all these companies are, there's not going to be grandfathered in safety. You're going to immediately see people moving on all these games that they know have their references in them.
Yeah, as soon as one case goes the way of the creator of the dance, they're all going to start. You're going to see them coming out of. I don't want to say coming out of the woodwork, but you're going to see them dominoes start to fall that other way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think you're going to see until this gets settled for a long time. You're going to see at least, I think, almost weekly people coming out to join cases against Epic, just because they know they're guaranteed a slice of something when this all shakes out. And the sad thing is I don't think there's a single positive PR move that Epic makes out of that. And it looks a little reckless the way that they've kind of been throwing around money to get people to come to the Epic store. They've been, what is their store, like a 12 split or something like that? Like, they are making very aggressive moves and kind of, I don't want to say flaunting, but kind of publicly stating how much money they're making, and kind of been showing off acquiring things and mentioning that, like, Fortnite has a $10 million purse or whatever this year to it and stuff like that. Like, I don't think in good consciousness there's like a good move Epic really makes off of this court case to make them look good. Because I think even admitting that they make mistakes kind of makes them look scummy for taking so long to do it. So I don't know. That's a real loaded thing that we're going to see. A lot of 2019 is going to be involved in that, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, since we're on the topic of lawsuits, the Pinkertons are suing Rockstar.
The Pinkertons.
Oh man, I don't know much about this other than they're upset of how you can just murder them willy-nilly in Red Dead.
It's not even that. Their complaint, well, it might be some of that, but their complaint specifically suggests that they're upset that Red Dead portrays them as the bad guys, and how it's tarnishing their good work and reputation. And the counterclaim that Rockstar came out with was like, they used your name in Deadwood and all these other Westerns, and you're the bad guys in those twos. And also, you're only in 10 missions out of over 160 missions are in our game, so you're not even a big part of it. Deal with it. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny because it's the fucking Pinkertons.
Yeah, that I gotta think is just the same thing that happened with like Lindsay Lohan and everybody else that makes moves. Is like, as soon as something gets hugely successful, they just want a little chunk. And they, you open the newspaper and you see that like Red Dead is the fastest growing or fastest selling like new property or whatever, and you're like, I'd like to have me some of those millions of dollars. And I'm part of this group, this historical Pinkerton group.
Yeah. I don't know. They are the bad guys, right? They're the cops.
Yeah.
So fuck them, I guess.
I don't know if I was on the last podcast, but did we skip over the fact that Bungie bought themselves out?
No, that was my next story.
Okay, because you were like, you said we were going to lead with the big one, and I was like, oh, good, we're going to talk about Bungie right off the bat. I was like, we haven't gotten to it. I was like,
we're at the crash and burn of Activision right now.
All right, give it to
so
us.
Bizarre.
This is another double story. Bungie and Activision split. Bungie bought themselves out. They got to keep Destiny.
Yeah, they didn't buy. I don't think Activision had a stake in Bungie, right? They just bought they basically secured the publishing rights to Destiny moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other half of that story is that it probably doesn't relate to Destiny, but Bungie took $100 million in from NetEase, and are developing a new game off that money. NetEase is a massive Chinese internet technology company, and they've got like deals and partnerships with like Blizzard, for example. They do a lot of the work. They do a lot of the Chinese publishing for like Hearthstone and HOTS and stuff like that, I believe. So they're just massive. So yeah, that's Bungie's on their own again somehow. How do they keep doing it? Like, I mean, the first time this is like the third time that they've partnered up with like a massive publisher and become like a first party studio for a publisher and then just bounced. Like, yeah, we made Halo the most famous game on the Xbox consoles. By the way, we're out, and Microsoft's just going to let us. And now we made Destiny.
They made it through. Was it through Halo 3 ODST?
Yeah.
And then they bounced after that because Halo 4 and Reach were made by 343, weren't they?
Yeah,
I think
Reach.
I think while Reach was going on, they were already with Activision.
Okay, all right.
Because no, I think they worked on Reach, right? I think Reach was their final product because if I remember correctly, they had to finish up 2 more games after Halo 3, so that became Halo 3 ODST and Halo Reach.
They did Halo 3 ODST. They did Reach. Reach was the last game in the Halo franchise to be developed by Bungie, so they did ODST and then Reach and then bounced. Okay.
Because I was pretty sure like while Reach was either finishing development or was released, they had said that that their next game was going to be multi-platform and that they were working with Activision, but that was it at that point. I had a discussion with a couple of friends a while ago about whether we thought Bungie was actually a good development studio or if they've always had the safety of others to protect them until they finally get something that's worthwhile. Like Halo has always had problems. Like since it's like the series is great. I'm not saying at all that they're bad games. But like even like Halo 2's original presentation was all smoke and mirrors. Like they had nothing at that point. And Halo 3 was plagued with issues in development. It's been very publicly known that Destiny is about 2 years behind their expected schedule. They've always sort of had the benefit of the doubt, or at least had the benefit of somebody with deeper pockets protecting them in development ever since they kind of signed on with Microsoft. And I wonder if the NetEase thing is just the latest in that trend, or if they're actually going to work independently now and either focus on Destiny or whatever their next idea is to actually sustain them as an independent developer instead of sort of immediately going to align themselves with somebody else again.
Well, the very first thing that I wondered was does Destiny 3 come out on Steam now?
Or Epic?
Like does that get a whole new split? Because like
I think it comes out on Epic, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
That feels right for for the company.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge bidding war, I would assume, because the bigger question is what happens to Destiny 2, right? Does that immediately stay locked on the Battle.net, or does that start showing up on other platforms?
On there. That's a good question. It probably stays on there, I'm going to assume. And Destiny 3 becomes its own thing. Because remember, nothing carried over from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the same thing will happen between Destiny 2 and Destiny 3.
Unfortunately, but fuck it. I got three more quick things.
Okay.
Number one, Charles Tildesley from Gaming Life did a breakdown of the Steam activity charts and has mathed out that Artifact, Valve's card game, has lost 97% of its player base.
Wow.
Yeah,
Lordy.
There is nobody playing Artifact anymore. And then the other half of that is that I believe Valve just announced their big tournament for Artifact, and it's like a $1 million prize or something like that. So I think they're really trying to get people playing that game. I don't think it's going to work.
Nope.
Number two, the whole Unity Spatial OS thing. You guys hear about that?
The Unity Spatial OS. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Epic.
Yeah. So this whole thing kicked off, I want to say, about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks, with people freaking out, specifically Unity developers freaking out. Because Unity changed their terms of service or their EULA or something like that, and then said it was retroactively applicable. And part of the change said that any games that were using Spatial OS for their online features were no longer allowed to be. And so that's games like that's a whole slew of games, but that includes games like oh fuck, I don't even have it written down. That airship game that I was really crazy about like forever ago with the grappling hook. Anyway, I don't know. I talked about it on here, but anyway, it's a lot of games. Is the thing. It's a lot of games or use it. So then Unity came out and said we're gonna clarify, and then it turns out that they apparently were having issues with Spatial OS as far back as a year ago, and then as far back as 6 months ago, submitted whatever their complaint was in writing to Spatial OS and just got ignored. And so this change is a result of that. But they've also said that any games that exist right now that are using it don't have to worry, and that it's only applicable going forward. So it's just a big mess right now. Because, you know, Unity is the engine that a lot of indie devs use. And so all of a sudden, if their game isn't allowed to, you know, function because they happen to build their shit with this stuff, like, that's not good. Like, that's maybe company breaking for an indie developer or small company, stuff like that. But so that's a whole mess, and it's messed up. And I think the only reason I really included it is because the whole thing about their change of service retroactively applying just seems kind of fucked up. Like, I don't understand how that works. Like, I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand how that works. Like, if you make something under an agreement and then it exists, you can't go back and change it, can you? Like, you can't say, oh, well, now.
No, that's a great question.
I don't. That would be breaking the contract on one end, right? Like, just because you're the one that signed the contract, they have to sign the contract too. They would be bound to the same rules and regulations that you signed to.
Right. So I've just been keeping an eye on that because that's weird and interesting to me. And let me see. I got one more here. Speaking of weird, how about
speaking of weird,
how about that Randy Pitchford?
That's weird.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw this out here, and then I'm gonna step away from the microphone because I really don't want to make a joke about this because it might be horribly inappropriate. So the whole story. Basically is that the former Gearbox lawyer who happened to be, I guess, good friends with Pitchford, accused Randy Pitchford of taking like $12 million into a personal account, to use on like a bunch of bullshit, like his private theater and stuff like that. And then also accused him of having underage porn on like a USB drive that also had like company secrets, like very private documents that he lost at a restaurant at Medieval Times a few years ago, and some other shit. And then they're countersuing him for slander, and they've come out and said that like this is absolutely ridiculous, and look at the language he's using. It's like it's lawyer jargon to protect himself when he gets called out on how much bullshit this is. And then that would be fine because, you know, lawsuits and counter lawsuits happen all the time. Like, it's just kind of something that happens when shit goes bad.
Yeah.
The thing that makes this weird is Randy's out there on podcasts and shit like that talking about how, oh no, she was, you know, totally 18, and I was carrying it around because I'm pretty sure she was doing sleight of hand and a magic trick, and I want to figure it out because he's a magician, right? Like, he's actually a magician, like he's a registered member of the House of Magic or whatever the guild is called in the States, and
the Dark Brotherhood.
The Dark Brotherhood. He just came out with like this weird rambling like defense on like a podcast and stuff like that. And so it just makes the whole thing weird. And I'm not going to make any jokes about it because I'm going to step over the line if I start making jokes. So what do you guys think?
It's so freaking. The number one thing when working in any profession is just don't mix company shit with personal shit. Very easy. Do not mix company shit with personal shit. It extends to USBs, USB sticks, files, computers, laptops. Because what happened to me one time was my laptop at the office wasn't working, and I decided to bring my laptop from home to get some stuff done. Oh, and they called me up on a presentation so I plugged my laptop in. I don't know if I should be saying this. It's gonna take me down when I run for president. So they said, "Hey, Dolly, can you give your presentation right now?" I said, "Yeah, no problem. Let me play the intro video." So back in the Windows ME days, Windows Media Player had a listing of all the previous videos that you've watched on there, like just off in the sidebar. And
no dally.
yeah, the weekend before, we had taken my laptop.
Nope.
My brother picked me up for my bachelor party, and they took my laptop and to a hotel room, and they were watching porn. And so while they were waiting for the party to start, and yeah, so there was all these porn titles in, on the big screen at my office. And I didn't know it until afterwards. My director said, "Oh, hey, by the way, you may want to clear your cache when you're when you're done watching. What are you talking about?" I'm like, "My brother, I'm gonna kill him." So yeah, don't mix corporate and
so that was the other thing. I think Jeff Gersman on the latest Bombcast as of this recording, so like January 17th, somewhere around there, said it the best, where this would be a non-issue if he had just come out and said, "Yeah, I was watching porn. She was legal." Everybody watches porn.
Yeah.
The only reason this is a thing is because he has gone to like the fucking weird lengths to defend it.
Didn't he use the term jailbait?
He may have.
I don't know if he used the term jailbait. I know that he used the term cam girl, and then I think he had named the cam girl whose video he had, and her cam girl name was like only 18 or barely 18 or something like that.
Maybe that's what it was. Oh boy. I mean, I don't have anything to say in regards to it other than it's weird that it's happening so publicly.
And then the second part was the accusation from this lawyer that Pitchford puts on private shows at his theater which are invite only, which have he's been accused of having like adults exposing their genitals to minors for the amusement of
horrible
guests. And as far as I can tell, and so of course, like Gearbox has come out and said like all of these shows are recorded, like feel free. And I think like Ars Technica is planning on doing that. They're going to go and review the footage. But I mean, you can't prove that. Like that only proves that there are shows that are recorded. That doesn't prove that every show is recorded. So that doesn't really mean anything. But on top of that, like why does this guy know? Like where's his proof, I guess? And also, I hope it's not true because that's really fucked up. Like I don't know. I don't like Randy Pitchford. I think he's kind of a pompous dick. I don't like in a lot of interviews I've seen with him. He seems like he seems to think way more of his games than a lot of people do. And he's got really aggressive defending that really shitty Aliens game and lied about it and stuff like that. So I don't really like him, but God, I hope it's not true. I hope this is just a dude trying to like get some money out of Gearbox. Cause if it's true, that's really fucked up, and fuck that guy if it's true. But, yeah, so if you look the article up on Kotaku, Jason Schreier has included both the suit and the countersuit in there, so you can see all the accusations and see the comments that Gearbox has made on the subject. And
it's a bizarre story.
Find a link to the podcast that Randy Pitchford was on. I think it was like I want to say it was Piff the Magic Dragons podcast.
Okay. Was it Piff the Magic? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it was an episode of the Piff Pod, and that's Piff the Magic Dragons podcast.
Piff Pod.
But yeah.
Yeah, he ended up like losing America's Got Talent, I think. Or winning.
Yeah, he got second. He got runner up. I think it was runner up. He's really good. I like Piff the Magic Dragon. He has nothing to do with the story other than that it was but yeah, I don't know. This whole situation's fucking weird. And it all happened like years ago, and it's just coming out now, right? Like this podcast that he was on.
What was it years ago?
So the briefs are new, I believe.
Okay.
The podcast was in December, but I think him losing
that's right. Yeah.
Him losing the USB drive was in like 2014 or something like that.
Okay.
I think that's just like one thing on this like list of stuff, but that was like it's something that's public. I think you can like track like the tweets and stuff about that event. So people, as soon as any of these like documents or anything like that like show up, you've got the thousands of internet sleuths that immediately start trying to find like any public like references or anything like that. Like I think with
There's
the shows,
screenshots going around that people have dug up where they've searched on Twitter, like Pitchford's Twitter account and the word peacock. And they're like, hey, look, like fucking the dude from Double Fine, Randy Pitchford's inviting him to a thing and stuff like that. I'm like, his theater is named the Peacock Theater.
Yeah.
So it's like that doesn't mean anything. That could be any number of things. Like, stop stirring shit until you know if it's true or not, right? But yeah, I don't know. The whole thing's a mess. Stop trying to implicate people that aren't even involved in these lawsuits until, I mean, not at all, but at the very least, until you know if it's true or not. Like, people out there trying to get Cliff Bleszinski involved in this because he's friends with Randy and shit like that. People are out there like Tim Schafer. They're like, oh, Tim's in on it. And it's just like, what? Number one, I doubt that. Number two, stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
It's just one of those things where, because things are so weirdly public nowadays, like everybody feels like they need to be involved somehow. And as weird as it is, there's always will be defenders on both sides. I mean, they're both been in the industry for long enough that, you know, they'll have defenders on either end. Just weird, man. I wish we didn't. This type of news didn't have to crop up with, like, you know, like it's always like, oh, cool. Anthem's got like mechs in it. Oh, that's dope. Also, hey, Randy Pitchford might be a weird sex criminal and also like weird business guy. And you're like, oh, cool, awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, is this happening more? Is it just social media that's making this news more? Because like when I started writing in, I think 2006, somewhere around there. Like I was still in high school when I started writing. And when I started writing, it seemed like all the news was just like about video games and stuff like that. Oh, and then it seems like now it's just like the news about video games barely gets reported.
It's social media, and it's unfortunately it's what people want to hear. The drama has become something that people will take over actual gaming news.
It's something we've just become a victim of, thanks to like character driven content, where character driven content's great, and I think it's a better way, especially for enthusiast stuff, to be presented to people. But because of that, you've now got people that are bigger fans of the content creators than the like content that they're creating around themselves. So you know, it's one of those things now where we only had the issue of fanboyism being like, oh, I'm Xbox or PlayStation or, you know, Sonic, Mario, whatever. But now you're like, oh, well, I hate Mario games because such and such from this outlet says Mario games are dumb. And like that's like a real thing that happens nowadays. And I feel like now, especially thanks to Twitch and YouTube, and there's other public forums that like you can watch a person destroy themselves as public as possible. That there are people that just love to watch that drama and feed off of it. I mean, we have our own resident lurker who like loves the drama of the industry. I think he plays games. I know he's playing Smash Brothers. But other than that, like, I don't know that he even plays that many games anymore, but he loves
that drama.
Loves the drama. Loves the drama llama. And like, I mean, I can't blame him because it's its own like form of entertainment, I guess, if you're into that. But yeah, I don't know. It does certainly feel like nowadays a lot more news has to deal with some of that stuff. And it's all stuff that has happened for a while. You know, working in an industry and in a town where people are in positions forever, there's always the things that happen behind the scenes, or there was some incident and that person quietly gets let go or something like that. And because the business doesn't want to make it public, they don't really want to destroy that person's life. And the person obviously doesn't want to destroy their lives. But now you have people getting fired over something and they decide to like shout it from the rooftops, or, you know, people leaving companies. And it's a question of like, I left the company because the culture in that company sucks and I need to share my story because this is some people's dreams and they need to know. And
what's up, Riot?
yeah. What's up, Riot? Or Blizzard, it sounds like, is the answer now. But I think that's just a side effect of how we enjoy content nowadays. Is, it's, back in the day it would be like, oh, Steve left this television show and it's a shame, I wonder what happened to Steve. Maybe Steve will show up in something else I like down the road, and then you forget about Steve and Mark is there, and now Mark's the cool guy you watch on whatever show.
Talking about Blue's Clues.
No, I wasn't, but like as you were saying that, yeah, Steve left, yeah, but that was the thing, right? Everybody thought Steve went off and did drugs, but no, Steve just went off to do his own thing. He
became like the producer of that show. Like, he was behind the scenes. He didn't even leave the show, but
he just wanted to do something else. But like, that's the thing. But like, of course, like back in the day, everybody even blew that up into 1,000 things. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. Where now you have like these like people that are printing money off of YouTube or Twitch or anything like that, and they'll do something stupid. And it's the question of, okay, well, does the mob mentality ditch this person or keep them around for a while and they just become like part of the lexicon? Like, I think PewDiePie's gone through like 15 different controversies, but that dude's still kicking.
Somehow.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's, is the mob working for or against you?
Yeah.
And with video games now, with content around video games being so public, and a lot of indie games being successful on very small groups of people, or like these sort of coalitions of sort of known indie devs, that type of stuff is just bound to happen. And with the character like Randy Pitchford, it's kind of hard to ignore that he's the magic man who just kind of spouts some nonsense, and then his company releases like a great game like Borderlands, and then absolute trash like that Alien game.
Ugh.
It's the same thing. Like, it's like Cliffy B. Like, everybody wanted to see Cliffy B fail when I don't even remember the game. What was that game's name?
Lawbreakers.
Yeah, Lawbreakers. Everybody wanted to see Lawbreakers fail, and like, arguably, I thought it was a bad game, but I think even if that game was good, like, I think the conversation around how poorly Lawbreakers did was more exciting to Lawbreakers to most people.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Anyway, that's that whole mess. So basically just like leave it alone. Just sit back and passively watch and wait for the professionals to figure that shit out. Stop instigating shit, internet.
Did you go to law school? No? Then don't comment.
I barely went to journalism school, and I'm not talking about it.
I know. I mentioned while we were talking about those copyright things, it's like, I went to communication school. I learned about copyright. I learned how not to infringe on copyright. I obviously didn't learn. Yeah. I didn't learn the bulletproof like you can get this far, but at that point, like, you illegal. Mostly libel law too, to be fair. But
anyway, that's all I have for news.
That's it. All right, that's all we got for today. We had a lot. We talked about everything. A little bit of porn, a little bit of video games, some health issues, magic, and VR. Everybody, thank you for joining us on this wonderful Thursday evening on the SideQuest Live. We get an hour and a half show. This is a long one. We have to make up for not being around last week because I was out and you guys don't know how to do anything without me. So that's always a good thing.
I was ready to go, but nobody was there.
That's a good excuse. I like that. I'm Dolly Domowski. You can find the website, sidequesting.com. You can find us at SideQuesting on the Twitter, SideQuesting TV on Twitch and YouTube. Find me personally at Dolly Domowski. Samuel, Spliffy B, Crash Bandit Dude, Dixon, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at SamDI79 /R or what am I don't know. I think it's just twitter.com/ and then your name, right? Okay, SamDI. Yeah. That goes to show you how much I use the website. I never tweet. I had a really good idea for a tweet and I was going to tweet it, but then I was going to save it for the show and bring it up. And for the life of me, I can't remember what that was going to be. So that's great. So I wasted everybody's time yet again.
Thanks.
Hey, Aaron, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at ScrattyBones. Watch out, because in like what day? It's today the 17th.
Yes, it is.
18, 19, 20. So in 5 days, 6 days, I believe our giant eco game is going live.
Oh, cool!
Wow, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be one of the people streaming it.
Okay, good.
Jeff Grubb, friend of the show, Jeff Grubb, who is basically spearheading this effort, took a list of everybody who is going to be streaming it today.
Mhm.
It seems like a fair number of people, and this thing has gotten massive. There's a giant bomb community that they've been running a test server the last couple of weeks to try and figure the game out, and that's gone to hell. That turned into a hellscape of capitalism very fast. There's a Waypoint group that's going to be playing. I think there's a Rocket League group that's going to be playing.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I think I think some of the devs are going to be playing. There's us.
Yeah, team side questing.
There you go.
The bad boys of side questing.
How many of the side questing guys are playing?
I think it's just me, you, and Tom. I could be wrong, but yeah, the bad boys of side questing are going to take over.
I never signed up.
We're going to run a small gang and
go.
sell drugs out of a cavern behind town.
So anyway, that's starting in a week, and I'll be one of the people streaming that. So my channel will actually have content on it.
Yes.
I assume if you watch his channel, you'll probably see Tom or I pop up at some point.
Probably, or you'll see nobody because I'm living in a cave under a lake making rugs.
Hey man, I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna come hang out in your lake cave.
Hey, you help me dig it out, and I'll let you build a house down there.
Nice, yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Let's make an entire underground community. You making rugs? I'll make tables or something.
It's gonna be fun.
we'll have the side questing like home furniture hidey hole or something.
I love the home furniture hidey hole.
I mean, you can totally make tables. People need tables.
People need chairs.
2019, people still need tables and chairs. On that note, we're gonna shut this bad boy down. I will say in my final comments, I've been playing the Crash Bandicoot remakes, and Crash Bandicoot, those are not good games. That's it. See you guys in the next SideQuest thing. We love you. Bye.
Peace.
That's going to imply that I like the Crash Bandicoot series, and I've played none of them.
Oh.